Hi, welcome to episode 322, take 2 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, which is where this episode and every episode show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop where I sell my handspun yarns and knitting patterns. That's also the Corner of Knit and Tea. And finally, I am on Ravelry as Fluffy K. But I know many people, including myself, are having some trouble using the site now. Today is the day that Ravelry Classic goes away. So I will continue to be over there, and my patterns will continue to be on Ravelry as well as elsewhere for now. So, and I also want to note that for the past few months, as well as going forward, all the links on my website will be away from Ravelry sites, so they will be to the designer's personal sites. If there are no links, that means the designer is only on Ravelry, and you can just take the name of the design and the designer name and plug it into Ravelry, and you should be able to find the pattern there. I just don't want to unknowingly send anyone from my website to there. So, hi, how are you? This is recording take 2. Apparently I had inadvertently hit something on my camera, and so it did not record the sound last time. And many of you were so kind to point that out to me. I am getting my sound icons today, so I think we're going to be fine in this episode. But today is Wednesday, March 31st, which is 2 days later than I intended to release a recording to you. I hope that you are doing well, that you have not had some snafus in your week, and that you remain healthy. Things here are going well. I had my first vaccination last Friday, which went fine. I had a little bit of a sore arm afterwards, but I am sort of looking forward to getting the second one and being vaccinated and feeling a slight, ever so slight, sense of hope that things are moving forward in the world. We are still wearing our masks, although the weather is warming up, so being outside is beautiful. I did see a friend this week briefly. We both wore masks, but she is starting her vaccinations as well, and so I am hopeful that maybe my knitting group will get together in person outdoors this summer once or twice. We have not all seen each other since this started over a year ago. So I realize that there are variants out there and all kinds of things going on, but I am feeling just a little bit hopeful. So I decided to drink the same tea in today's recording as Monday, although I have a different mug. I am drinking tea today in my Stonehenge mug, which is Sheep's at Stonehenge, and not Sheep's, Sheep at Stonehenge, and I got this when I was there a few years ago. I hope that I'll be able to go back at some point in the not too distant future. Not necessarily to Stonehenge, but it was on a trip to London. And I am drinking today Wegmans Blueberry Green, which is some tea that I got from a friend who lives on the East Coast. It is a green tea, and it's got dehydrated blueberries in it and also some blue flowers, and it smells delicious. And so I have had this one before, but it is lovely for a spring afternoon. So, unfortunately, oh, and I didn't bring my phone. Unfortunately, I cannot show you the thing that I worked on almost all of last week. And I meant to bring my phone so I can show you some photos. They are not up on Instagram yet, but they will be in just a couple days. So I knit a Mortha wrap for my sister. It is a pattern by Erin Crupp. And actually, if you want to see what it looks like, you can go back to last week's episode. I had the first little bit of it done, and you can also go back to my episodes in January. I knit this as a sample at first for Zen Yarn Garden using their Serenity Silk Plus, which is a merino cashmere silk blend. It's absolutely lovely, and I used it in both a natural and then also in their Lux Cake and Lux Blank, which are basically the same thing. They use the Lux base, they kitted up into 150 gram, 750 yard sock blanks, just a knitted piece of fabric out of the yarn, and then they paint those as they dye those in their shop. They hand paint them, and then they dry them, and then they sell them both ways, both as blanks, just in a long piece of knitted fabric that almost looks like a scarf, And then they also wind them into cakes so you can see the gradient. The first one that I made was a gradient cake. The second one was out of a blank. They are the same thing. They are dyed in the same colorways. It's just whether you actually work off the blank itself, which basically you're just unraveling as you go, or you're working in the gradient skein. Both of them, or I should say neither of them, actually wash and set the yarn such that they aren't kinked, or they look a little bit like ramen as you unravel them. So there isn't necessarily an advantage to one over the other. I went ahead and knit my sister's shawl just off the blank. I used up almost all the blank and just within a couple grams of the silk, and I knit per pattern. And that is off in the mail to her. Her 40th birthday was yesterday, so I did not quite make the deadline. On Monday, I was about 25-30 rows from finishing when I recorded. And so I finished that Monday night. I steam blocked it, trimmed the ends, took some photos on Tuesday, which I will be adding to my Instagram feed hopefully this weekend. I will be waiting until she receives it in the mail because she watches my Instagram feed. So I did want to wait and surprise her just a little bit. I don't think she'll be entirely surprised because she commented on the one that I made in January about how much she loved it. So I don't think she'll be entirely surprised, but I used a slightly different colorway for hers. And yeah. So I will share those photos a little bit later on. Again, that is a mosaic. It is a wrap, rectangular wrap that's knit on the bias. It is alternating sections of mosaic, which means you are slip stitch knitting. You are only knitting with one color per row, and you're kind of alternating the colors as you go back and forth. And then alternating sections of lace. And I used a gradient colorway called In the Grove, which went from teal to an espresso dark brown and then back out to teal, and then that white silk. I feel badly that I can't show you. I did show in the previous edition, but I've already deleted that off of YouTube because, of course, there is no sound. So that was what I spent last week working on, and as soon as I finished on Monday, I actually had time to cast on, so I started the cast on for my next project. And the one thing that you will get to see is you will get to see the next project, because on Monday it was just a box of yarn. And now I've actually done one repeat of the pattern. So I am knitting Stephen West's Painting Hexagons blanket, and this is going to be a blanket knit along for Zen Yarn Garden. And they took his original blanket, which comes in two sizes. It comes in like a large Afghan throw and then a smaller sort of baby blanket version. And so I am knitting the large version, and they're going to be doing it as a blanket knit along. This is a big, a lot of yarn. It is a pattern that uses his honeycomb motif, which he has used in quite a few of his designs, and I am going to show you in just a minute. And then it uses a bunch of different colorways for the honeycombs, and then a main colorway. And it is over 3,000 yards. So it is in DK weight, and you have 8 colorways, plus you have a main color. And so I am working on that, and I cast that on. So the first thing that I needed to do is there is an I-cord cast on, and then we maintain I-cords at the edges of the pattern. So I did the I-cord cast on Monday night, and then last night I did the first 2 sections of honeycomb. And while they look like the same color, they're actually ever so slightly different. It's really hard to show you on the camera. I don't think the camera picks it up, but this is a slightly greener blue-green. I've been calling it jade, and then this is a slightly bluer color. This is aquamarine, or I'm calling this aquamarine. The reason I am making up these color names is because I did not receive color names on them. I am using Zen Yarn Garden sent me colorways that look like the colorways in the original blanket, but it was not Zen Yarn Garden yarns in the original blanket. So I do not know if they have named these colorways. I do not know if any of these were specially dyed for this blanket, or if they already had I suspect they had most of these colors already, but I do not know their names because they did not come with tags. that's the fun of being a sample knitter. Sometimes they send you stuff and you don't get the tags, and so you don't know what you're working with. I do know I am working with the Zen Yarn Garden Superfine DK base. That is 100% super fine merino. It is super, super soft, lushly spun. The colors are semi-solids, and I am using kind of a medium gray for the main color, which has like a little bit of slate and a little bit of light gray, and that's kind of a pewter or like mid-gray, and that's what I will be using for the design. So the colors you will get to see in the next several weeks, and this is a long project, are this is the kind of jade green, and this is the aquamarine, and I don't know if you can tell, but this is just ever so slightly greener than this is just ever so slightly bluer. So those are the first two, and they go along with this kind of sprucey dark teal colorway. So those are kind of the blues in the blanket. And then we will go into brighter colors, which are orange, and then sort of this very, very sunny yellow. So these are the next two. And then we go into kind of the pinks, which this one is actually, it's a red, but it's got kind of a dark pink hue to it. So this is kind of a berry tone. And then I have a hot pink, kind of a magenta tone. This looks a little bit like one of my most recent knits. And then I've got a kind of powder pink. So those are the pinks. So I've got the greens and blues, orange, yellow, and then these three. I am knitting in the colors along in the order as in the original blanket. And then, like I said, my contrast, or my main color is, and some of these cakes are a little... I've got all these cakes in a box. And this is my gray, my main color. So that is what I will be working on for the next couple weeks. At 3,000 yards, it's going to be a hefty knit. I'm hoping to do one repeat a day. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it every single day, but if I do it most days, I should be done in about a month. So a repeat is basically like 2 bands of color and like honeycomb, the main color section. So basically it's about 20 rows of work at 303 stitches a row, sorry, 309 stitches a row. I guess I'm giving away too much of the pattern there, so I shouldn't do that. But so that is a repeat, and hopefully I'll be doing these repeats and be able to show you stuff over the next month. But I'm sure you'll enjoy seeing this over and over and over, because this should be at least a 4-week project, if not a 6-week project. So that is what I am working on now, and that is my main focus. I haven't started anything else this week. I do need to get started on that hat for Brown Sheep in the Lana Loft in the 2 colors that I showed you, kind of a teal blue and a navy blue. It's quite a blue month here. And so I will be working on those. I hope this weekend. I have most of my ideas down, and so I just need to kind of sit down and swatch a little bit and then knit the samples, and then I can work on the patterns. I am supposed to release that hat pattern before the end of April, so I need to get it done so I can send it to the tech editor and do some photos and get that ready. It will be a hat in a few sizes, and I have not decided exactly how I'm going to release it yet. So I haven't decided if it's going to be a free pattern on my blog or if I'm going to set it up as a paid pattern. I'm going to have to think about that a little bit. So we'll see, but that will be coming up. And then the second thing that I am going to be working on in the next several weeks, although I have another sample coming in as well, so I don't know how all of this is going to fit in, is I thought I would show you. My husband has a friend who he runs with, and his running buddy is, well, he's significantly younger than we are. I think he just turned 30, and he and his wife are expecting their first this summer, their first baby this summer, and it's going to be a little girl, and I decided that I wanted to use it as an excuse to design a baby blanket and release another pattern. So I have another pattern that I'm working on, and of course the pattern does not have to be out before the baby is born, but the blanket has to be knit before the baby is born. So I have been swatching and playing with stitch patterns, and I think I have what I want. So now all that remains is just to cast it on and work on it. And I am using some Miss Babs Yowza, and I selected the colorway Old Gold, which is this beautiful golden yellow, and I just think it's really nice for a summer baby. I think it's going to go nicely with the stitch pattern I've selected, and as I said, that is Miss Babs Yowza. It is a DK weight. It is 100% superwash merino. Each skein skein is basically a double skein. It is 8 ounces and 560 yards. And so that is what I am using. And like I said, it's in the old gold colorway. And so I will be working on this in the next couple months because the baby is due, I believe, mid-June, and I would like to have it done before then. So hopefully I will be able to crank that out as well, and then that will be another new pattern that I will be releasing sometime this summer. So that is what's on my knitting needles. Like I said, I have another sample coming in. Unfortunately, I can't share it with you. It is, it's going to be a colorwork cowl. And so I will be working on that as well in the background. It's so funny because, and I said this on Monday's podcast as well, for the last couple months, I have sort of been, or at least the last month or so, I've been kind of at odds. I haven't really known what to knit. I haven't had any samples on deadline. And so I've sort of just been working on things and casting on things and casting off things and ripping things, and I haven't really felt that grounded in anything in particular. And now I have a ton of work that I committed to getting done and a ton of things I'd like to get out the door. And sometimes I actually think I work better when I have lots of deadlines, just because I have a reason to keep in motion and things that I need to finish each day. Like I break up sort of how much I need to reasonably do to make my deadline. Whereas when I don't have any deadlines, it's just kind of whatever I want it to be. And I think I find that a little bit harder to work with, which is kind of funny because most people probably wouldn't want deadlines on their knitting. But having a lot going on and it almost seeming to be like too much to get done seems to be how I make it through most of my projects. So, sip of tea, we'll do a bit of spinning, and this one will be a short episode. So, last week when we spoke, I showed you a braid of Hello Yarn fiber that was from the January Club selection. And it was a 75%, 25% BFL and silk, which made it a really beautiful blend. And it was in the colorway Songbird, which was reds and browns and kind of a, mostly a coral color, kind of a reddish orange. And I spun that up this week, and I am just super, super pleased with how that came out. This is Songbird, and it has not been washed and thwacked yet, so it still needs a good washing. I was planning to do that yesterday, and then when I realized that the podcast didn't record with sound, I realized I would need to record again, and so I didn't wash it because it would have been all wet today. The trials and tribulations of podcasting. So this is Songbird. Like I said, it is BFL silk, and it's got these browns and kind of tans, and then like I said, it's got this real coral, orangey coral colorway. And actually this reminds me a lot of the robin that is still banging into our window, because even though they call it a robin redbreast, I think it's like a very orangey red, kind of coral sometimes looking on their bellies, and so this totally reminds me of the robin who keeps hanging out at our window. I suspect this is going to be about 350 yards of probably a sport weight. I don't expect it to fluff up too much, although it will get a good washing and measuring, and then this will be up in my Etsy shop. So if these colors are something you think you might like, keep an eye out there, probably this weekend. Usually I try and get it out a little bit earlier in the week, but because it's Wednesday and I still haven't washed it yet and it'll take a day or two to dry, it will probably be Friday or Saturday before I can put it up in my shop. So that is what I finished this week. I went ahead and started a new braid, and this is from Wolfiend, who I spun a braid from a few weeks ago. And I just love this one. This one is called Wild Ride, which also kind of is emblematic for the last year that we've had. It has been kind of a wild ride. This is, I believe, merino. I have to go back and look at the label again. But again, this is from Wolfiend, Woolfiendd. And this is, I just love these pinks, and it's like magentas and reds, and then it's got these pops of turquoise in here. that are so pretty. And then it's almost got a little bit of a reddish brown, kind of a maroon color down at the in there as well. And I love these sections of red. So I have chosen to spin this as a fractal spin, which means I pulled the braid in half, and half of it I'm spinning through in long color repeats, and the other half I will spin through in short color repeats. So I will tear this half into, this is just half the braid, 2 ounces, and I will tear this half into short strips of color, and so overall it will keep some longer colorways and some shorter colorways, and it will kind of look a little bit tweedy and a little bit stripy. And I chose to spin this way because there were so many reds and pinks, and I kind of wanted to keep a lot of these color runs together. I didn't want to lose a lot of the blue, and also have I wanted some of the pops of the bright, and so I felt like I would keep a little bit more of that if I spun it as a fractal spin. So this one will be destined for my shop as well. Hopefully I will finish this one this week and be able to show it to you next Monday, and we'll continue on in the sequence. So I think that covers everything I covered the first time. I hope that you are doing well. I hope you're staying healthy and that you are finding moments to be creative. Springtime is springing here, and like I said, it's bringing me a little bit of hope, and I have all these projects to work on and all this beautiful yarn, and I also have a sweater I'd like to knit. I have the sweaters for the kids. I actually have a list of all the things that I need to do now, so yeah. Much work ahead, and hopefully lots to share with you in the coming months. So I hope that you are doing well this week, and that you have a lovely week. And until I see you next time, I will say, as I always do, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next week. Bye.